Vasseur claims Red Bull is now feeling the pressure after the recent defeat in Monaco. RB Boss gives insight on how Yuki and Daniel have managed to perform well so far this season, and Zak Brown voices concerns regarding Red Bull drama. Before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Ferrari's team principal, Vasseur, believes that Max Verstappen has committed more errors in the past 2 races than he has in the entire span of the previous 3 seasons. However, Vasseur still has faith in Red Bull's ability to recover. Due to mounting pressure at the forefront of the field, Red Bull may be feeling the strain as they have been dominant for an extended period. This could explain why they are now facing increased expectations to perform. Following Charles Leclerc's emotional first victory at his home race in Monaco, where both Leclerc and Vasseur ended up in the Monaco harbor during Ferrari's celebrations, Vasseur expressed his thoughts on Verstappen's recent mistakes. After 8 races in 2024, there have already been 4 different Grand Prix winners, surpassing the total number of 3 different winners throughout the entirety of the 2023 season. This indicates that the competition has intensified and closed in on Red Bull. Verstappen highlighted difficulties in maneuvering his car over the curbs and bumps of circuits like Monaco and Imola. Team principal Christian Horner stated that they will address these issues in upcoming races. While Vasseur tried to downplay Ferrari's expectations after their victory, he emphasized Verstappen's recent errors. Nonetheless, he anticipates that Red Bull will swiftly regain their strong form. When questioned about Ferrari's chances of challenging Red Bull after their Monaco win, Vasseur responded, "No, I don't want to make any conclusions based solely on this weekend. However, if we analyze the last 2 weekends, Max has made more mistakes or gone off track more in Imola than he has in the past 3 seasons." Vasseur underscored the point that staying within one's comfort zone and not pushing too hard reduces the likelihood of errors, suggesting that Red Bull found themselves in such a situation. Vasseur remains confident that Red Bull will bounce back soon, asserting, "We shouldn't jump to conclusions, but I believe they will return to a position of strength. I don't consider it an easy path ahead until the end." Looking ahead to the Canadian Grand Prix, Vasseur noted the contrasting characteristics of the track compared to Monaco. Regardless, he expects a closely contested remainder of the season, with several teams vying for success. Canada is quite different from Monaco in terms of speed and downforce, but it also has similar characteristics, such as the curbs and plenty of low-speed corners and chicanes. If we evaluate our performance in Melbourne, Imola, and Miami, where we dealt with diverse tire compounds, types of tarmac, and layouts, it becomes apparent that it will be a fiercely competitive season until the very end. Certain cars will be more suited to specific tracks. It is deemed essential by McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown to act as a representative for the sport. He believed it was appropriate to express his concerns about the investigation involving Red Bull's Christian Horner for the betterment of Formula One. At the beginning of the 2024 F1 season, off-track matters took center stage for Red Bull. They conducted an internal investigation into team principal Horner due to accusations of misconduct by an employee. However, the case was ultimately dismissed. Red Bull did not disclose the specifics of the investigation, which led Brown to advocate for transparency before the season commenced. He emphasized that McLaren upholds high standards and places great importance on diversity, equality, and inclusion. These values are significant not just for McLaren, but also for their partners and everyone involved in Formula One. In an interview with The Times, Brown further elaborated on why he felt compelled to address these issues. He stated that everyone involved in the sport is a representative and ambassador for Formula One. Thus, he believed it was justified to voice his concerns since Red Bull plays a major role in the sport. Brown emphasized the significance of being a spokesperson for the sport on crucial matters. All of us have a responsibility to safeguard and promote the Formula One brand. We are all ambassadors and should hold ourselves to the highest standards, reflecting the values of F1, explained Brown. He acknowledged that what unfolded was detrimental to Horner's personal reputation and team, but given Red Bull's prominence within the sport, Brown felt the need to highlight the importance of a swift, appropriate, and transparent resolution to the matter. Currently, Red Bull leads the Constructors' Championship, with their driver Max Verstappen, a 3-time world champion, leading the drivers' standings. Nevertheless, McLaren and Ferrari pose a threat to their position. McLaren's Lando Norris recently claimed his first career win in Miami and finished closely behind Verstappen in the Imola race, less than a second adrift. In Monaco, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc secured his first victory for the 2024 F1 season, narrowing Verstappen's lead to 31 points. Ferrari has also reduced Red Bull's advantage in the constructors' standings to 24 points. Red Bull's motorsport advisor, Helmut Marko, openly acknowledged that there is a discrepancy between their simulator and real-life performance when it comes to their RB20 car's ability to handle curbs. This issue had already surfaced during the team's off-weekend in Singapore last season, and it resurfaced again in Monaco, where the latest Red Bull model behaved like a kangaroo. Max Verstappen, Red Bull's driver, likened his car to a go-kart on the streets of Monaco due to the way the suspension reacted to the bumps and curbs in Monte Carlo. Verstappen admitted that this issue prevented him from responding effectively to Ferrari's pace throughout the weekend. Ultimately, Charles Leclerc claimed victory for the Ferrari team, while Verstappen finished in 6th place. Verstappen's teammate, Sergio Perez, was forced to retire after a collision with Kevin Magnussen on the first lap. Marko confessed that the RB20 remained nervous throughout the race. Marko expressed concerns that even at the next race in Canada, the car might not provide a comfortable ride despite the higher speeds the circuit offers. In an article for Speed Week, Marko described how the Ferrari handled the curbs with relative ease, while their own car experienced greater difficulty and kangaroo-like behavior. This was especially noticeable during qualifying, where they managed to adapt somewhat but were unable to secure a front-row grid position for Max. However, the nervousness of the car placed even skilled drivers like Max at risk of making mistakes. Marko mentioned that Max attempted to maximize his speed in the first sector, the only part where they outperformed the Ferraris. He did everything he could to minimize time loss in the other sectors. Their troubles stem from the fact that the problem originates in the simulator, which indicated good performance over the curbs. Simply put, the simulator's data and real-life performance do not align. The issue was not isolated to Monaco, but had initially appeared more significantly in Singapore. The simulator suggested something that did not match the reality experienced on the track. Addressing this discrepancy is their primary focus. Marko expressed optimism that they will eventually uncover why the simulator provides incongruent data. However, he anticipates that the upcoming race in Montreal could pose its own difficulties for the team. RB team principal Laurent Mekies expressed his appreciation for Daniel Ricciardo's contribution to the team, despite his struggles to score points in the 2024 season. Although Ricciardo currently trails his teammate Yuki Tsunoda by 14 points, Mekies highlighted the various ways Ricciardo has aided the team. Having previously worked together in 2012 before their respective moves to Red Bull and the FIA, Mekies emphasized the significance of their reunion and Ricciardo's role in the team's development. Describing the pairing of Yuki and Daniel as a stroke of luck for the team, Mekies stated that Ricciardo's experience, having won 8 races and being part of multiple teams, immensely contributes to identifying the team's strengths and weaknesses. Acknowledging that Ricciardo initially faced challenges adapting to the car's characteristics, Mekies stressed that this is a common occurrence in the sport. Nevertheless, the team has diligently worked with him and his crew to address these issues. Despite Ricciardo's difficulties, Mekies assured that the driver has remained remarkably composed and that progress, not always apparent to others, has been made. He pointed out the incremental improvement from one race to another, Australia performing better than Saudi Arabia, Japan surpassing Australia, China outshining Japan, and finally, Miami exceeding China. This progression indicates that they are on the right path. Mekies commended Ricciardo for his logical and unemotional approach to the challenges he faces. Together, they have analyzed his capabilities and limitations with the car, leading to a valuable learning experience for both driver and team. They are actively implementing feedback from Ricciardo to enhance the car's performance in the short and long term, allowing him to fully showcase his abilities when racing. Esteban Ocon might face being benched for the Canadian Grand Prix as a result of encouragement from former Formula One driver Christian Danner, according to reports. Alpine team boss Bruno Famine was furious after Ocon collided with his teammate Pierre Gasly on the first lap of the Monaco Grand Prix. The incident occurred when they were battling it out through Massenet, with Ocon narrowly avoiding the barriers. However, there was contact when Ocon made a move on the inside at Portier, causing his Alpine car to go off track and effectively end his race. Despite Ocon issuing a public apology afterwards, Famine seemed unsatisfied and is allegedly contemplating sidelining him for the upcoming Canadian GP, emphasizing that there will be consequences. Speaking to motorsportmagazine.com, Danner bluntly labeled Ocon's behavior as typical. While Danner suggested a substantial financial penalty as a potential consequence, he mainly urged Famin to make the 27-year-old driver miss the next race. Danner analyzed the collision between Ocon and Gasly, describing it as obviously stupid and overly aggressive. He emphasized that their reckless actions hindered their own competitiveness and jeopardized the team's chances of finishing in the points. Danner believed that Famin, as the boss, should enforce a clear message by making Ocon sit out a race, bringing in Jack Doohan as a replacement. Danner highlighted that a mere reprimand would likely have no lasting impact. Danner anticipated that after contemplating the situation for a few nights, Famin would need to make a decisive choice in order to restore peace within the team for the remainder of the season, considering the significant number of races still to come. Danner was convinced that the only way to communicate effectively with Ocon was to tell him that he would miss a race. Meanwhile, Gasly managed to score a point for Alpine, securing 10th place in the Monaco race. However, he expressed disappointment over the incident, emphasizing the importance of adhering to team instructions and avoiding such incidents in the future, due to the potential impact on their final standing. It is worth noting that both Ocon and Gasly have contracts with Alpine that expire at the end of the 2024 F1 season. Former Formula One racer Pedro de la Rosa expresses his belief that his friend and fellow countryman Fernando Alonso is deserving of greater recognition within the realm of Formula One. De la Rosa, who now serves as an ambassador for Aston Martin, currently collaborates with Alonso and is convinced that the two-time world champion has more to offer. This conviction stems from Alonso's recent decision to extend his contract with the Silverstone-based team beyond the present season. Despite Alonso's impressive track record, which includes 2 world championships and 32 race victories, De La Rosa argues that an additional 11 points across the 2007, 2010, and 2012 seasons could have resulted in Alonso being crowned champion 5 times. While such speculation may be considered mere conjecture in the grand scheme of things, De La Rosa emphasizes that Alonso's statistics alone fail to fully capture the extent of his talent and long-term success in the sport, as showcased by his performances with Aston Martin. In light of this, De La Rosa believes that by remaining in the sport longer, Alonso will be given the opportunity to achieve the results he rightly deserves, thus filling the void in his trophy cabinet. It's worth noting that Alonso's most recent victory dates back to the Spanish Grand Prix in 2013. De La Rosa shared his thoughts with Racing News 365, expressing his conviction that ultimately everything will fall into place and achieve a sense of equilibrium. He wholeheartedly believes that Alonso's unwavering dedication, passion, and innate ability warrant far more recognition than his current 2 world championships convey. De La Rosa acknowledges that other drivers have also displayed immense effort and commitment from the early stages of their careers, but he maintains that Alonso's exceptional attributes should be rewarded accordingly. Moreover, De La Rosa emphasizes the importance of self-criticism, openly acknowledging his own shortcomings. He firmly states that not winning a race or a world championship was simply a result of his competitors outperforming him. Taking this reflective approach allows him to maintain peace of mind. De La Rosa firmly believes that fixating on any perceived injustices would prove detrimental to any athlete. Ultimately, he concludes by reiterating his conviction that what a sportsman receives is a direct reflection of what they have earned. However, in the case of Fernando Alonso, De La Rosa firmly asserts that he undoubtedly deserves more recognition and accolades for his extraordinary contributions to the sport of Formula One.